Well, I think it's not really a big surprise because, as everybody would have mentioned in the lead up to, as soon as Morocco said they were not going to host the tournament, and as soon as CAF booted them out, there were only a few countries that could really host the tournament. South Africa and Ghana were recent hosts, already said that they were not interested, which means that there were only a few countries who recently hosted the Africa Cup of Nations, and those were Angola and Equatorial Guinea and Gabon. And no surprise, Angola said that they were not interested in hosting the tournament. So it was really down to Gabon and Equatorial Guinea, although there was some talk about Qatar even offering to host. But I think CAF always wanted to host the tournament in Africa. So not the biggest surprise. Well, that's the big question. I wasn't there for the tournament in 2012, which it co-hosted with Gabon. But according to colleagues who were there, they did complain about logistics. And remember, they co-hosted, so they only required two cities, which were Malabo and Bata. And now they've got to have four cities. And I don't know what the infrastructure is like in the other two cities of Mongomo and Ebibian. And it's going to be very interesting to see how those two cities cope with hosting the tournament, and particularly at such short notice as well. I mean, it's literally 9 weeks before the tournament starts. So for them to get everything in order in those 9 weeks is going to be a massive task. I don't think CAF had a choice. You mentioned that they were actually eliminated for fielding Thierry Fidio Tesmeta, who had a dual citizenship with Cameroon, and even before the pre-qualifiers, they had eliminated Mauritania, but Mauritania appealed, and as a result of that, they were kicked out. But CAF just did not have a chance or an opportunity to look at any other host. So they were really in a corner as soon as Morocco wasn't going to host the tournament. As we mentioned earlier on, there were only a certain amount of countries that could host the Nations Cup. And with Equatorial Guinea being one of them, I think CAF's hand was simply forced because they've had problems with eligibility, both in their men's and women's team. They've brought in a lot of Brazilians, for example. They brought in Cameroonians from all over. And CAF just, I think they were in a helpless situation, and they just had to take Equatorial Guinea, irrespective of the fact that they were kicked out of the Nations Cup for fielding an ineligible player. Yeah, I mean, Equatorial Guinea, they played in their first Nations Cup when they co-hosted in 2012. They don't really have a great record or pedigree in African football. And, of course, it would be a fantastic opportunity for their players to get exposure at the top level. They did play a friendly against Spain last November. Spain were en route for their friendly against South Africa, and Spain stopped over there to play, which Spain won by 2-1. And, they haven't been playing much international football of late. As we mentioned, they lost to Mauritania in the pre-qualifiers, and that in fact was their last game. So it's a fantastic opportunity to welcome Africa's top players to their country and give the Equatorial Guinea side an opportunity to play against the best in Africa. When they hosted in 2012, they did manage to reach the quarterfinals when they lost 3-0 to the Ivory Coast. So here's a similar opportunity for them to play against top quality opposition. Well, I think the main question and the main concerns for particularly players and the media and those involved with the logistics is how people are going to get around the country. The infrastructure is not the best in terms of transportation. Whether there's going to be enough hotels, particularly in the two other cities, Mongomo and Ebibian, which didn't host in the last Nations Cup when they was played there in 2012. And I think many of the European clubs would be very concerned at this stage, not knowing enough about the facilities in Equatorial Guinea, about sending their players to the country. Of course, there's no cases of Ebola that's been reported there, but I think the players and the European clubs particularly will be very concerned about the situation that they're going to be sending their players to. Are the facilities going to be good enough in particularly the two cities, Ebibi and Mongomo?